was the thing, and that's what the beauty of like being on Whisper Sisters was like, cool, just Friday and Saturday, dope, you know, and like 2 days, and then the rest is like being at Picasso's or being with Puente and like nonstop. And then of course, like trying to think about all the things. I mean, especially at that point, you know, we had so many events lined up, either by myself or with Good Time Bros. So yeah, if I can just do 2 jobs and then just kind of like put the focus elsewhere, or be able to focus on whether it's the podcast or just like the different direction that I want to go into, or just like kind of make everything happen, then that'll be nice.
I did an exercise in April, and it was kind of, you know, it was a goal setting type of thing, but basically you have all these major goals, right, for the year. And it distilled it down. It was a really great exercise, but it kind of just distilled it down to like every week, do something toward each one of these things.
For sure.
And it could be something so tiny,
yeah,
or something so, you know, monumental, but something like, this is a goal. What, you know, what is the goal for the podcast? What is the goal for Good Time Bros and events, or, you know, whatever those are for you. And then like every week, just like, I'm going to do this because it's just going to get me in that mindset of focusing on that. This is an important thing for me. And it was pretty impactful. Like the shit that came out once I did it, you know, it was a few weeks of going through. I typically sit down on a Sunday and I'm like, all right, what am I going to do toward all my goals today? Yeah. And sometimes I'd have to make something up because I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Like I want to live in Mexico someday. Like what the fuck am I going to do this week that's going to push me there? And it would be something stupid. But as you do it more regularly, you just start becoming programmed
for sure
to really put some energy into that direction. And it made a huge difference.
100%.
For me,
I mean, I have a journal. I even bought it like a year ago and I didn't really even use it. And and I just wrote down your butt.
My butt hurts. My ass hurts. It's a motorcycle injury. I'll tell you about it in a minute.
I don't know. You might need to get some like cushions for these chairs.
I know they're a little uncomfortable.
I'm like, it's like hugging my hips right now. I'm like, girl, let me go. Let me get comfortable. But yeah, I wrote down in this, you know, book, like, I mean, like I said, so that's what I wrote down, like all the guests that I would like for next year.
Drink that.
I am drinking it slowly. But yeah, just how I want my life to be, and like what are the things that I want to work towards and actually make happen and have happen, you know.
Do you have any interest in living anywhere else, or do you want to stay here? I don't want to say just stay here, because this place is a great place to live. Anywhere, anytime in your life.
I mean, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think I would like to get out of here. But I think, I mean, in all honesty, I think just because, you know, my network is here, you know, because Franco really wants me to go to Kentucky, and I'm like, dude, I don't have time to like try to bartend 4 nights a week somewhere new, and you know, and maybe I'd be able to make things happen fast. You know, I mean, I have a couple of connections out there, but and all at the end of the day, you know, I have to make sure that Sam is okay. And if I ever leave, like, I need to make sure she's in a good place. So whether that's what I've written, you know, for next year is like to become 100,000-aire, you know, like, so if it's to become 100,000-aire and then be able to buy her house and just make sure she's okay, or just like make sure she's got enough money that she can be okay, then I would leave. I don't know where, but I
have this. I talk about this all the time. I go through days where I can imagine myself living, and most likely, I mean, I say Mexico because right now that's just the most accessible place for me to be.
Yeah.
But it, you know, it could be Mexico, it could be Spain, it could be Argentina, it could be Chile or something like that. I go through moments where I daydream about like wandering and like waking up in the morning and hearing the chickens and like walking to the corner, and it's so palpable for me. And who knows if it'll ever happen, but actually it will happen if I really want it to happen. But I love where I live right now, and I love my life right now. I have such a great connection with so many really great people and all the stuff that's happening, but I know this is not my last thing. This is not my last place. I don't know when or where, how that's going to happen, but back to what we were talking about, there's a moment where you're like, you have all the goals and you do things to deliberately get toward that goal. And then there's also this other, like, you know, we've been joking about talking to the universe, but it's like, there's a thing out there and I'm just putting it out there in the universe. And someday it's going to happen because I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah.
I can experience it at any moment.
For sure. I mean, I think for myself, you know, it's like, it's always like, there's like the 1980s, like Toyota Land Cruiser, like that I can like see, like I'm going to have that in my life one day. And I always call them like writers' houses, where they're not necessarily big. They're just like quaint. They're cozy. They might have like a like long driveway where the garage and like a granny unit is upstairs or some shit like that. But the house isn't necessarily like that big.
Right.
And so, you know, like that is my goal. Cause I, you know, like I don't need a big house and
right.
Anything like that. And like I said, I mean, yeah. So I want to be able to do that. And that's the thing. It's like, I want to be able to like be in a house and like have a space where I can like draw and write and maybe even like make shirts and, you know, and those, but that kind of house, that car, I for sure see, you know, and I guess it's always weird because I never really like see somebody else there with me. So it's like
just a hermit.
Besides maybe like Sam up in the guest house, yeah, or I'll probably be in the guest house and she will live in there.
Tell us the story about Sam. I feel like you should tell this, like what as much or as little as that you want to tell, but you keep mentioning Sam, and it's like there's a person who's your person, which I think we all have one of those, and it doesn't always mean you. People have evolutions of what their relationships are, right? So they started as one thing and then they end up as another thing, or they go through multiple iterations or whatever. But Sam is your person.
She's my person, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we dated, you know, like 2005, somewhere around there for a couple of years. And I think really, you know, and it was terrible. And,
Wait, what do you mean terrible?
It was just bad. It just was, you know, there was a lot of fighting. I mean, she was 21 and, you know, I was 31. And, yeah, you know, she had a hard time, like really like believing, I guess, that I could be this genuine or I was this nice or that I would, you know, like me trying, like if you came into my bar and I was having a conversation with you and blah, 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 you know, and she saw it, like, she would get mad, you know, and like, why are you always like flirting with people? And I was like, no, I'm just having a conversation. Like, I am generally like a good guy. And, you know, and she kind of like destroyed that person inside of me, you know, and like people had recognized it and was like, yeah, you know, like you're a totally different person and blah, blah, blah. And it was hard. But, you know, there were certain things that happened, you know, especially when she moved to SAC and, you know, still kind of being around that, I don't know. I think the empath in me like really came out and she really reminded me of my mom a lot. And, you know, we did have some kind of like similarities as far as like our upbringing and how we could kind of connect to certain things like that. You know, abandonment issues and blah, blah, blah and whatever. Right. And so for whatever reason, you know, like I just stuck by her side and, you know, like to me, it was just like I said, it really reminded me of my mom and, you know, like seeing my mom, you know, like really fall apart and have really hard times and like, but like being the only one that stood by her to try to help her out. And, yeah, with Sam, it was just kind of like, I don't know, whatever reason, it was just like, I can't leave this person by herself, right. You know, like, I just can't. And, you know, it was still really hard. And, you know, even when we broke up and then just kind of like being, you know, friends and still like talking to each other the next few days and then just kind of like becoming friends and like having her stay in my life and being there for her life. So it was just kind of like, you know, watching this person. And it was really hard because, you know, she was having a lot of struggles and it was, you know, I'll keep saying it was really hard. But just to get through it and to know that, and I think for her, knowing that I haven't left her side, because she's still not as vocal or always like showing about that. Right. And we've, you know, I mean, probably the last couple of years, we probably like stopped fighting as much, you know, and just kind of like, you know, if she makes me mad, then it's kind of like, so we call each other Doodle, dudes, Doodle, Snoodle, Snoodlehead, Doodle butt, whatever. And I'll call her Bug, like she's Bug. So yeah, and it's still that thing where I know she still struggles with a lot of things, and she's grown into an amazing woman, and I love watching her grow and like find herself and start to let go of certain things, and you just kind of realize like what are things that are really just in her personality,
But do you ever feel sad or any other version of that like the amazing person that you're seeing now, she's obviously, when we're all 21, we suck in general. So everybody grows up, and now she's this amazing human.
Yeah.
And do you wonder like, oh God, if only she were that person then, and maybe things would have turned out differently.
No, not at all.
Also, you don't have to answer any of these questions.
No.
Too weird.
No, not at all. Like for me, it's, I think because it's probably helped out too that I've been single for so long that, she's gotten to be that person and gets to be spoiled. And like I said, I don't have kids, so I don't know what it's like. And maybe this is the closest that it's ever, like I could really relate to anything like that. Where, if I can help her out and if I can give her my last dollar, like I will, like I would rather her feel safe and be safe and know that she's not stuck, So I think even for myself, I think there's a lot of drive because it's like, I know I'm still not at that position to just kind of like, if I could do something like that, I would do it, so in some senses, maybe it's even kind of selfish because it's like, yeah, if I became 100,000-aire and like be able to like, it's like, cool, I'm going to go have a little peace of mind and go fucking leave a little bit, and then if you need to come, I'll just fly you out, but, so yeah, because I do think that there needs to be a little bit of space, but
also I think people
then,
like you and I, we do tend to. What sign are you?
Technically a Pisces.
Okay, which actually I asked that question. I don't fucking know what that means, but all I know is a little bit about what mine means, and part of that is like I am the caretaker. I'm the person who takes care of everybody, and I want to create the home and the space, and I want everybody to feel safe and very creative also. But
you're Cancer, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're water people.
What I try to figure out is like most of my life. Okay, this is very ironic. When my mother was 40-ish, I remember I was old enough. I was a teenager, and I was old enough to think to myself, "Fuck, I hope to God I don't go through what my mother's going through when she's 40." Which basically was she spent all her life taking care of everybody else.
Yeah.
And then she was like, fuck everybody, I'm going to take care of me just for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling that she's going through some sort of midlife crisis or whatever. And lo and behold, that's, besides the fact I didn't want her nose and I got it, I also ended up in the same place where my whole life has been like making sure everybody else is okay.
Yeah.
And it feels, it's a little bit selfish as well because it does feel good.
Right.
But more it's about like, I want to make sure Danny's okay. I want to make sure, my kids are okay. Like all of that. But to my detriment, like I've always put myself below, and, there's a little bit of resentment that comes with that, but then also a little bit of like, wow, I can actually have a good life and I can feel good. And if I just put a little more effort into, or a little more attention to me and not that. And so there's that moment where you're like, maybe you have felt like this with Sam, and I have felt like this as well with, other situations where it's like, I want to make sure everybody's okay. But at this moment, maybe what I really want to do is like just give myself I want to make sure I'm okay for a little bit and see what happens there. And maybe if I take care of myself, it's the whole like mask first before you put it on somebody else. Maybe if I take care of myself and put some more attention to myself and empower myself to grow a little bit more, whether it's financially or otherwise, then I can go back to like you want to be the 100,000-aire, and it's like, focus on Danny. I'm not saying don't focus on anything else, and then go back and be like, hey, now look what I got for you now.
For sure. No, and I can 100% relate to what you just said, and I think that's just
saying it and doing it are two different things.
For
obviously.
Sure. But I think even